How about some dessert for you? Obviously, I already posted one video today, so that's kind of my main video for the week. But I just wanted to throw something out there really quick. I'm gonna try to keep it under 5 minutes if it's possible. But as I'm going through, my man Colin over at One Reality
He just kind of leaves us in the mystery. You don't know hermeneutics!
has this new show that he does, I guess. It's called Righteous Judgment. And I hope you don't think that I forgot about you. My response videos are incoming. They just have gotten buried under my workload elsewhere, but don't think that I'm done with you by any means. I just thought it's fascinating. He's got this video series. It's called Righteous Judgment. And just what struck me about it is, I guess you could say, the balls on somebody to claim by the very title of it and the premise of it that he's somehow a righteous judge, despite the fact that James 4:12 says there's only one lawgiver and one judge, he who is able to save you or destroy you. So talk about being a little bit too big for your britches, I guess you could say. I find it to be incredibly arrogant, not spiritual, not any, like, it's just arrogance. Just suggests that you are somehow a righteous judge of someone else. And watching a few of them, like, he really goes after the low-hanging fruit. Highway to Hell. Gonna create something about that coming up in the next couple weeks. People that do circuses in their churches, like a lot of just really low-hanging fruit as far as if you're going to try to judge something. I guess that's what to go after. But in the middle of all that, in the middle of that very sparse patch, he goes after, of all people, John MacArthur, the senior lead pastor, executive pastor of a church called Grace Community in Southern California, who, if there's anything, if there's ever been a more righteous authority on Christian doctrine in modern society, I don't know who you would point to. R.C. Sproul, who recently just passed away, maybe A.W. Tozer, but clearly, but the thing is, in Matthew chapter 7, because let me just say this first. Watch the video. I actually watched it twice because I just wanted to be clear about understanding it and what he was trying to say. And just as maybe a pro tip, if you want one, you should never say that I'm just going to let somebody speak for themselves and then cut them off in a sentence. I mean, literally, at the very beginning, he cuts Johnny Mac off in the middle of his sentence so that he can interject the statement, I'm just going to let him speak for himself. Like, don't do that. Are you kidding me? Talk about pulling stuff out of context. But aside from that, that's aside. In Matthew chapter 7, it says specifically, you will know them by their fruit. You will know them by their fruit. You do not gather grapes from thistles or figs from thorn bushes. Know a good tree because it's going to produce good fruit, and you're going to know a bad tree because it produces bad fruit. And this is what this is my thesis on it all, is that you have Johnny Mac, and it just the whole context. He also has another video about once saved, always saved, a conversation on that. That's kind of a short one. If you want to go check that out, do it. Basically, you will know a person and their spiritual relationship with God. You will know them by the fruit that they produce. And if we're going to put just two people in this conversation, you have Colin of One Reality over here, and over here you have Johnny Mac, the storied senior pastor of a church that he's been serving. His children have been serving in ministry longer than Colin has been alive. That, I mean, you have decades and decades of continued righteous ministry. Like, you couldn't pin a single accusation on the man or him. Phil Johnson, who's been kind of his sidekick for so long, and you're going to try to say that he's a false teacher? Like, you'll know them by your fruit. And that's what I'm trying to get at from my viewers out there. Obviously, I'm just some guy with a handful of subscribers. Colin's out there. He's just a dude with a YouTube channel and a handful of subscribers. But you will know a person's faith. You will know their relationship with God by the fruit that they are producing. And if you're going to try and touch the man of God, someone like John MacArthur, you are playing with fire that will consume you. This is the point. This is the sum of the whole conversation. Like, he has theological disagreements with the idea of salvation. He believes this semi-Pelagian, almost kind of Romish sounding works righteous thing. But if you're going to judge his theology against, let's say, mine or someone else's, see, if I had to decide just on circumstantial evidence, the works righteousness that he preaches versus the salvation by faith alone, which John Calvin and John MacArthur, R.C. Sproul, A.W. Tozer, Martin Luther, John Huss, I mean, you can name anybody who's anybody, Augustine, and going all the way back through Christian history. They have believed in salvation by faith alone. So if you have to, like, well, I'm not sure, there's this guy on YouTube over here that's making this argument, but all of Christian history is over on this side with their fruit clearly and visibly evident. Like Martin Luther, who's singularly responsible for the fact that I'm not trying to speak Latin right now as I'm quoting scripture, or guys like John Wycliffe, William Tyndale, who were martyred for their desire to translate the scriptures into English and all this. Like, all of them together believed in by faith alone. So if I had to just heap it up just like that, like, I don't know what I believe yet, but I know what they believed, their testimony is more reliable than One Reality's. Just simple. Just that alone. So let me leave you with that. I wanted to keep this short. Definitely went over 5 minutes. But if you like, go ahead and subscribe. And like I said, got some videos coming from you specifically for you, Colin, here in the future.